everybody, Jo here again. Thanks so much for popping in. Always lovely to spend time with you. Today I'm going to use a couple of the new stamps with one of our older stamps and create a design that will be great for a mail card. I often get messages saying, please can you give me ideas for mail cards? Often it's sort of, dare I say, one of the genres we tend not to create many designs for. But I think this could be for a friend who's a gardener. It could be a retirement card. It could be for maybe somebody who's feeling a bit unwell. But for me, it doesn't just have to be for a mail. You could add another one of our Herbalums and make it for a couple. You could add the bench. I'm just giving you the starting point. Hopefully it will get those crafty juices flowing and inspire you to make lots of different designs. Now, if you look, I've used this beautiful tree, and this is the seasonal tree, and there is so much detail on this stamp. It is absolutely stunning. And again, the colours I've used, you could make this, change the colours. It could be a spring design, a summer design, autumn or winter, just by changing those colour tones. How about making the design for somebody and actually doing one for each season and then sending a pack of notelets to a friend? And I love this, and breathe. So again, that could be used for so many different occasions. As always, look, I've decorated the back, and this is straight on the card blank look. And I love doing this because this does give me the idea for another design. Now you could have the birds flying. Again, you could just have a sentiment there. And a little bit on the envelope. And again, this corner so that I can put my postage stamp, the address, all permanent, so that it's not going to run if it gets wet. So I hope you'll join me and we'll create something along these lines. I say something because you know what I'm like. So I've used a 6x6 square card. It's just that the size I like. Now, so I'm going to start with a 5.5-inch piece of multifarious card. But I know quite a lot of you like A6, and I think you could actually pop this on an A6 card and just chop part of the design off. So, lots of alternatives for you. And I'm going to start with my stamping. So you know me, I just like some copy paper underneath. It's just the way I work. And as I say, I'm going to come in with the seasonal tree and just the permanent ink, the Nocturne. So I hope you're all keeping well. I hope you're having a good start to your week. It always helps, doesn't it? So nice light tapping, but I'm making sure I get plenty of ink on because there's a lot of detail in this stamp. Now I'm just going to pop my stamp sort of about there. And again, because there's lots of detail, I'm just going to change hands. Always make sure you keep one hand on, but I'm just going to change, give this area a press, that area a press, and then give it one last good, and then lift it up, straight up. And as I say, look at that detail, stunning. So onto that we'll add our Herbalum. Now this one I think is Ben with the spade. I have to say, I know I'm going to get them confused. So I'm trying to get in my head which one of them has either the fork or the watering can, but I'm sure it's Ben. And again, nice light tapping, again in the black. And I'm just going to plant him there. And what I like about the shape of this tree, that he just fits nicely underneath. Now, if you were looking for, I know a few of you have asked recently for Easter designs, you could easily make this into an Easter design. I mean, for me, spring, planting bulbs, again, you could pop a couple of our little wild hares on here. But I couldn't resist these small shrooms, and I love the shape of this one. So I'm going to keep with the black. And this, I'm just going to put it, look, coming out here. Like they do, they grow from the side, don't they, of trees. So There is a slightly larger one. There's a set of 3, and I'm going for the smaller 2. And I'm just going to put 2 on this side. And then we'll just pop 1 on this side. And then what I'm going to do, just to finish off this area here, to tie it all together, just with my fine liner. Now, I'm not altering Tracy's design, so this is okay. I just want to extend a couple of little bits and just almost give the idea that I've got some landscaping. So as I say, I'm not drawing bits on and altering the design. Just once I've just, if ever that happens, look, I just missed that edge, so we'll just clarify that edge. And when I'd done this, I liked it, but I thought there was something missing. So I got my lovely foliage set out. Now, if I can show you, just take the stamps off. So this foliage set is fabulous. If I get a piece of, does that show up better? I've got the bit of the glare, but I love these 2 long hanging bits, and we've got these 2 bits here, and those stamps are so useful. Now, I was thinking on the original look, if you wanted to change this up a bit, you could stamp your lovely hanging, almost like catkins, or whatever you have that hang in your, wherever you live. I know we have catkins in spring here, but also if you wanted to add some of this foliage look, you could add it onto the tree. So that way you can alter this tree to make it a bit like it's called seasonal. But I'm just going to use this one. And what I'm going to do is tear myself. So again, just tear yourself a piece of copy paper. Just like that, just roughly. And then with the black, because this I think will be too big to stamp in its entirety, but if we just stamp little bits, and can you see I'm masking off the bottom bit, then I've got these lovely bits here growing. And I want to add some foliage around my small shrooms, but I don't want it to sort of take over. I just want it to be almost like an extra. Can you see? And for me, that just fills the space. And even just for this one stamp, I think the set is so worth it. But I do use the hanging catkins ones. So again, because I've got this lovely design here, it just doesn't look quite balanced. It needs something here. So if I just come in here and give myself first, second, third generation, oh, I need a little bit more there, don't I? I'll just bring that a bit further down and just see if we can, there we go. And does that make sense? Do you see what I mean? How now I think the whole thing looks balanced. And by the time we add some shade here, so it is useful. So that's the foliage set. Now I'm going to give that a blot just because I've used permanent ink, and if I don't get used to blotting it, I'm going to brush some colour now with my Elements ink, and if I don't blot it I could smudge that and then I'd cry, to be honest, and we don't want that. So when I'm thinking of my colour palette, I've gone for sort of, I wanted to add some green, so I've gone for one of our sort of earthy greens, and I've used olive. Now for the sky, I'm going to come in with Sahara, just to give, I didn't want to add any blue, you see. I wanted to go with those sort of yellows and browns and lovely tones. And then for the browns, I've gone for Truffle and Henna. Truffle being the lighter one and Henna the darker one. So first of all, we'll come in with olive. And I've got my brush, which is my green brush. And I'm going to come in with a couple of our hill masks. And I'm just going to start and add a little bit of colour, again in the lid, always blend in the lid. Now a little tip here, when I'm first putting the ink on, look, I'm going to start under the tree and then whiz the colour along, because that will instantly give me the look of shade under my Herbalum and under the tree. And if I want to see how it looks, lift it up, and I've got to be honest, I'm happy with that. Now I want to just add a hill. A little tip, think about where your hill goes. You don't want to cut our lovely Ben off at his neck. We don't want to hurt him, do we? So I think and over the shrooms there would be a nice, so I think that's a nice angle. And I'm just going to see what ink I've got left on my brush. I mean, this will save your ink because there's no need re-inking if you don't need it. But also it saves you having it too dark in colour. And then let's just add another one on this side. I'm thinking, we'll just go, and again, I'm not inking up, there's enough ink left on my brush. Save your ink pads will last longer. But also we've got that lovely darker going to lighter, and it just helps with perspective. But as I say, your ink pads will last longer. And these, I just give a quick wipe with a wet cloth or a damp cloth, and then my inky binky, so any dry cloth, and make sure you pop those away. Now I'm going to use one of my circle masks. Now I've put, so for our new followers, this is just yellow Posca dry, because I find it easier to pick this up. You'd be amazed, with them being see-through, I lose them all the time. Put them down, and in theory I can see that now, but when I'm looking, it's amazing how many times I don't see them. Now, when we add the moon, when you're looking, I sort of look at the shape here. And again, this is just the way my head works. If I was to put it here, I'm not keen on that right behind the tree. But if I look at the shape of the hills as well, I'm thinking if I put it here, I want to look at the shape. I don't want it directly in the middle above Ben's head. I think that looks a bit wrong. It looks almost like it's going to fall on his head. But I'm thinking if I just pop it to the side, it gives me a nice shape. I'll get some nice colour behind the tree, and it almost mirrors that shape. Now, I turn mine round. We'll come in with the Sahara. And for our lovely new followers, the reason I turn mine round is when I start, so again, blend the ink in the lid, I'm going to start on, look how much colour comes off on the mask. Just circular motions, and I'm starting at the base. Now, I've got more ink when I first start, so I'll have a deeper colour. But that's fine at the base, because the base of the moon, it will just look like shadow. Whereas if I added my ink first at the top up here, and it was very dark, I'd have to add even extra at the bottom. Does that make sense? So when I turn it round, look, I've got a deeper colour here, but that's fine because it looks like this is the base. Now I'm just going to blend that a little bit. So I've got very little ink. Pop the lid on there. I haven't re-inked. I've only inked up once. And I can just, with the little bit of ink I've got left, just blend. And if I want to add a little bit of a cloud just going across, look, nip your brush, and with that little bit of ink that's left on, and I'll see if I can bring that closer so you can see. Just see, it doesn't show up very well, but honestly there is just slightly going across there. And again, so nip it, drag, and there you get a cloud just going across. Again, we'll give this a wipe, damp cloth, dry cloth, and pop it away. And that way you won't be looking for it. So to just bring this all together, I'm going to add some colour around the edge. So this is Truffle. And again, in the lid. And I always start in the corners, and I try and have a piece of kitchen towel to hold my work. Now, if you start in the corners, that's because you've got most colour on, again, when you first put your ink down. And we always want the colours deeper. It frames the design. And then once you've got the ink right in the corner, drag it along the bottom. And then for me, I just turn my card, ink on the corner, and just blend it in the lid. And this is my first colour, so I am coming quite a way across. And then we're going to come in with the darker colour to really frame it. And I find this, again, if you're one of our new followers, this is a nice way to do it because you gradually go in your colours. your intensity, so you don't have to worry too much. So if you've got the odd line like this, look, just keep blending it, just work it. And then some across the top, look. And again, on my mat, I'll pick this colour up as I go. We don't want to waste that ink. And then last corner, across the top, and then corner and down the side. And you see how that's just starting to frame it. So now we'll come in with the deeper colour, the henna, and I'm using the same brush. And when I show you, so this is deeper, look, and I'm really just going to work on the corners with this, and just a little bit down the side. Can you see the difference here? So we'll work on this corner. So this is why I didn't go straight in with this colour, because it's quite deep. But as I say, I want those corners nice and just catching those sides a little bit to really frame the design. And again, you'll get to know your own ink pads. You'll know which ones you need to blend more on the lid than others. If it's a newer ink pad, I would always recommend blending on the lid. If it's an older ink pad, sometimes you can go straight from the ink pad, but you'll get to know your inks. And also, don't worry too much about if your colour tone is slightly different to how it looks to somebody else. You know, often they look different on camera, but you may get a slightly different colour tone, but I embrace that. Love, you know, sometimes it can be what you've been left with on your brush. Now, because this is a deep colour, when I've done this, I will just wipe my brush on my inky binky so that if I go back to my lighter colour next time, I haven't got the darker colour on. But sometimes you get the most gorgeous blends when you do mix your colours. Now, there we go. So, as I say, for me, just inky binky, give it a bit of a wipe, and then, I mean, these brushes are so good, they don't exactly hold a lot of colour, which is good. They distribute it on your card. So I know I can go back and use a lighter colour on there. So I'm just going to give this a bit of a clean. Now, normally I would smoosh my card through that and give myself a spare background, but we'll just wipe it up today. Add some colour onto here, because obviously it's not got enough colour, has it? Now, I want to add a little bit more detail. So what we're going to do today, to colour the tree, I'm going to come in with my gold Wink of Stella. Lots of things you could use. You could use your watercolour pencils, you could use your Zig Clean Colour, but I just want to keep all these lovely sort of gold, brown tones. And you know me, I just like to make that lovely cohesive design so it all flows. And we'll have that lovely sparkle, and it'll be just the right amount of sparkle. I am aware I said this was going to go, this is a card for a male friend, so I'm not going to add my glitter, but the Wink of Stella will just give me that right amount of magical sparkle. And it's so relaxing to do. Honestly, you will really enjoy this. I'm being mindful that, you know, you don't want to see me colour all day. But honestly, it's so lovely to do. If you want to use your watercolour pencils. Like I say, I'm a bit obsessed with the Wink of Stella, so. And I'm also going to do the little windows on these mini shrooms as well. And then this lovely little edge here, just catch it. And again, the Wink of Stella's got such a lovely point look, you can do that. And then just want to add a little bit more detail. So in with my pastel pencils. And first of all, we'll come in with the white. And the moon's here, so I'm just going to add a little bit of highlight just onto the spade here. And again, I'm just going to give it a little, you could use a gel pen. I like my pastel, I just find it forgiving for me. And again, just by smudging it, it just fixes it. I don't need a spray fixative because I've not done a whole work of art with it. Just smudging it is enough. And I'm just, again, because the moon's here, I'm just concentrating on this side. And again, a little bit on my shrooms. Again, just catching. And then with the black, again, just a little bit more detail. So we'll have a little bit of shadowing under the foliage, but then more under the tree. And again, the moon, this shadowing will be pretty straight, whereas the tree's further away, so this will be going in that direction. And again, just to save me smudging with my fingers, I've just got a biodegradable cotton bud. And the smudging, as I say, does two things. It fixes the pastel pencil, but also, in my opinion, just makes it look that bit more like a shadow. And can you see, it really grounds the whole design. Now, you could leave it like this if you wished, but I like to add that bit of extra in the background. I purposely haven't stamped anything around the edge because I love this space. So I'm going to come in with my fan brush and just add some water splats, just for that bit of faux bleaching and to give that nice, just to give a bit more interest in the background, basically where I don't want to do any extra stamping. And while that's drying, it gives me a chance to get my lovely sticker sentiments out and have a look. Now, on my original, I've put "and breathe," but I'm actually going to go for "feed your soul," because to me, gardening, like crafting, really does feed the soul. So I like to give my little water splats a little bit of a dab here, just to speed them up drying. And I'm just going to come in with my heat tool, so excuse the noise, just to finish off. Normally, I would let these dry naturally. I like things to dry naturally. But we'll just, for today, we'll use the heat tool, give it a little bit of a dry. And as I say, look at that lovely, just takes that, I love that faux bleaching. If you want your corners a little bit darker again, you can come back in with your dark ink and darken them off again. I like that. But what I'm thinking is yellow, my lovely yellow sparkle. Let's just make the flowers so that they've got a little bit of yellow sparkle as well. And then the tree, as I say, you could stamp, we've got lots of the little mini stamps, so you could add leaves. If you want to make it for Christmas, you could add your holly leaves. We've got lots of little, as I say, the hanging catkins, we've got the little round flowers, the set with the two flowers on. We've got so many ways that you could alter this tree. I'm thinking just some yellow. And then just over the moon here, just going to add a couple of little yellow splats, just because I like to. And then we'll come in with our Feed Your Soul. And again, I tend to put it on my scissors just so that I can decide where to put it, so I could have a look. And I love the buff colour, the vintage colour. You see there, I think it looks, I just like it over the top of the moon there. And then because we've done our stamping in black, just with my black fine liner, I'm just going to edge that. Two things, I think it makes it stand out, but I think it keeps it with that cohesive design and brings it in with the stamping which we've done in black. And I have to say, I think that's a lovely little design, but you could alter it up. There are so many ways you could take this. And I can't wait to see what you do. So depending where you live, are you going to do a spring, summer, autumn or winter design? Or are you going to do all four? And which Herbalum are you going for? Who's your favourite out of the three? You see, I'm good, I can't have favourites. I love them all. They are cheeky though, you know. And you have to watch it because mine like chocolate biscuits. I'm sure they have mine when I'm not looking. Well, I tell Carl they do, because obviously I don't eat them, do I? Anyway, thanks for popping in. Please share your work on our Lavinia site and tag me in, because as always, I love to see what you create. Thanks for spending time with me. You take care. God bless everybody. See you again soon. Bye for now.